Good morning, everyone. And if you are not in the US, and good afternoon or good evening, and welcome to the Digital Innovation for Sustainable Housing Roundtable. And today, that's Charles and I will check, and then we'll just make sure that you can share. And today that we are going to just discuss a very important topic and how to use digital technologies or digital innovation to just make the housing affordable, eco-friendly, healthy, smart, and safe. So in many countries, and this is an ongoing challenge for both individuals, community, and also the government. In many cities, and it is very clear that the housing is not affordable, and which just make the city suffer from the losing of talents. And this also changed the nature and the competitiveness of the city itself. And this is, currently that many societies are undergoing transition or urbanization process, and then this will just becoming an even bigger problem day by day. And of course, that's when we just go to those cities or large city as of now, and how to just make the current residential buildings more sustainable. And we all know that building or housing sector have stand large portion of emission, greenhouse gas emission, and which contributing to the global climate change. And how do we just again looking at new materials, new process to reduce carbon emission and to create the eco-friendly housing for all. And this is not only a problem faced by individual or by cities. This is also part of the global United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. And under the goal 11, and we can see that the global community is working toward creating the sustainable community, sustainable city, and which is just good for all. And today that's we have a very interesting conversation. That's we have a few speakers who are just long-term veterans in the space. And Fintech4Good is really, a global network that's we try to launch a new acceleration program focusing on sustainable housing to address the SDG 11. And just a few months ago, or that we started to launch the Sustainable Housing Task Force. And today that's, you can see Anne, who is the co-chair of the task force with me. And we have quite a number of interesting or exciting leaders in the space who are in the task force. And Dan is also a task force member and who is going to share with you, the great work he's doing. And as of the task force that we are looking at different digital innovations where that we can just apply blockchain, AI, IoT, and other technologies and to achieve our goals. And so the value chain of sustainable housing is very complex. And now that I'd like to invite Anne to just share of some of the current thinking of the task force around the challenge around the sustainable housing value chain. Anne?
Thank you, Xiaoshen. And also, can you enable me to share my screen?
Sure. Let me see. Yeah, this is also the first time I use the Zoom webinar, and let me figure out how to allow you to share.
So I'll start talking while Shoshan is
Yes.
figuring that out. But first of all, I just wanted to thank everyone who's attending today for listening in on this hopefully really interesting conversation. I am really pleased to be able to welcome Dan and Charles to this program. I think you're going to be very interested in what they say as they paint a picture of the future of housing, or what certainly could be if we all sort of work in the same direction. So from just a framing problem statement
Yeah, and
of
you
why
can
this,
share now.
yeah. Oh, perfect. Great. Thank you. All right. Great. So just wanted to set up sort of the problem statement of why the task force has been set up. And from a framing perspective, the issue is that housing, as opposed to many other consumer goods and other goods around the world, over the last 20 years has not decreased in price, increased in quality, or increased in eco-friendliness the way many other consumer goods have. And our hypothesis is it's because digital technologies, which have been so important in so many other consumer goods, think of your smartphones, think of your TVs, think of the logistics associated with other sorts of physical good movement. Those digital technologies have not taken shape in the housing market the way it has in other sorts of consumer goods. And so we say, well, why is that? And when we look across the top, one of the issues is that to get from where we are to housing that somebody lives in, there's a development process, there's financing process, and then operating the properties is a whole nother process. In each of those stages, there's a lot of different folks in a lot of different organizations in the ecosystem who all need to work together. Similarly, going down the left side, we have private sector, but they're very dependent on the public sector, the infrastructure that the public sector puts out, the rules, the regulations, the sort of traffic directive, which I put kind of in the center as a graphic, that the government provides to be able to have all the different sectors interact together. And then finally, we have nonprofits and other organizations that have ties into the community, that have subsidy that they need to share, because housing is really an important human right for all people. And that's why it's a UN Sustainable Development Goal. So there are roles for everybody to play, but all of that needs to work in concert with each other. And my hypothesis is that because of this relatively complex ecosystem, it's been more challenging to employ digital technologies other than in somewhere in the front end of this process, which is not bad, but is not really game-changing in terms of really driving to the goal of affordability, sustainability, eco-friendliness, and smart. And so with that, what I would like to do is turn this over to our panelists. We're going to paint a picture of where we can put the digital technologies and really affect change in this sector. And with that, I will turn it over.
Thank you. And yeah, and I think this is exactly the challenge that we try to address. And with zero value chain, so many components, and there are existing way of doing things, and there are also new technology which enable us to do it totally differently. And this is definitely an opportunity. And so now I would like to invite Dan, who can just share with us with new technology, what's are the potential and how can we just convert that potential into reality? Dan?
Great, Shashan. Yeah, absolutely. Let me share my screen. So we think there's a fundamental problem that's holding back I mean, we know of at least 300 smart city initiatives around the world right now. And most of the reports are that they're all in various states of failure. Let's see here. I am not getting a screen share. Okay, there we go. They're all in various states of failure because we have a limitation on the way that our technology is being implemented, and that is our current World Wide Web is not up to the task. The primary protocol of that web is based on documents. If you think about it, our current web is made up of web pages, but our cities are made up of spaces. So we don't really have a way for our current web to interconnect everything. We interconnect all of our documents and Google indexes them, and we can find our way to everything and look up anything, but we cannot interconnect the things that are happening in the city. That blocks us in our development, that blocks us in our financing, that blocks us in our operations, and keeps us from getting where we want to go. As Ann mentioned, we're not seeing the breakthroughs in housing and in city management that we're seeing in other areas of our business world and government world. So what we've done is we've built something called a Spatial Web Protocol that really allows smart cities to interoperate the way that the web operates. So then you get something called a spatial web. So smart buildings and smart cities require that all the systems in them can talk to each other, just the way all of our documents are linked together. So in a smart city, we have various kinds of subsystems of transportation, of wayfinding, where are things, of advertising, of policing, every kind of thing. And right now, they need to be interconnected. When they do, we get something that's pretty extraordinary. We call this the ideal world here. This is where everything is really working together seamlessly, and we really almost don't even notice it in the background. But our lives are improved. Everything's safe. The autonomous vehicles are being guided. The city's aware of itself. Energy use is optimized. Everything's beautiful. This is the dream of the smart city. But unfortunately, there are no smart cities on planet Earth today. This is an impossible dream because we have a limitation on this HTTP technology that we use every day for the World Wide Web. It doesn't know about cities. It knows where documents are on machines. So really, instead of a smart city, we have a fragmented city. We've got drones doing things. We've got privacy issues. We've got trust issues. We've got hacking. You can see the problems down there. If hackers can get into the autonomous vehicle system, then you've got a mess on your hands. Obviously, we're going to have a lot of drones in the sky with delivery services from all the different kinds of delivery companies like FedEx and Amazon, UPS. Who's managing those? Where do they go? I mean, so really, we've got a fragmented city at the moment, and we're stuck with that. And we've got billions of dollars being spent on autonomous vehicles and augmented and virtual reality, robotics and computer vision. They don't know about each other. They don't interact with each other. So these smart city protocols, we call that the Hyperspace transaction protocol. And with that, you can now plan, design, engineer, and operate a smart city and integrate your transportation, energy, policing, public engagement, education. All these things can now come together, not using HTTP, but moving to this new protocol called HSTP. And so there's my company is called Verses, VERSES. You can go to the website and read about it, versus.io. And then we also have the Spatial Web Foundation, just like the World Wide Web Foundation. We give away the protocol for free for anybody in the world to use, not only for smart cities, but for smart supply chains. I mean, 20–30% of a smart city is supply chains. But for hospitals are in smart cities. So all these subsystems now can use the same protocol. And when you get something like that, now you get interoperability from the transportation in the city to the airport. You get wayfinding. You get really almost like the city as a computer game. And we do this by making a digital twin and then embedding that twin with knowledge and information in real time using IoT devices and things like that. So almost every city in the world right now is using LiDAR and other technologies to make a digital twin of itself. But once you got the digital twin, if you don't have a protocol to link all the buildings and everything together, then you're still blind. So that's how the HSTP protocol works with the digital copy or model of the city. And when you get that, you get this mixture of physical and digital. Some people are calling that phygital objects. So you can see the physical object at the top, the digital object at the bottom. They actually come together to create a phygital object that now when you have a pair of AR glasses on or your smartphone, you can see all kinds of information that can guide you to things. It can tell you what needs to be done. And you can manage your city. You've got new kinds of tools. You can use artificial intelligence to manage the city and certain parts of the city. And you can see a city is a complex thing. It's got multiple layers. Here you can kind of see some of the layers that have to be managed. Energy and climate, IoT, operations, logistics, analytics. I mean, all this stuff has to be brought together to make like one computer game of the city. And just to give you a sense, I mean, look at the complexity of the layers that we actually have in a city. Just in the infrastructure of the city, the electrical, the plumbing, the energy grid, the renewables, I mean, everything, air quality, carbon accounting. And then, of course, you've got all the operational issues around traffic, drones, robots, logistics. So it's a city is a complex affair, and we're not going to get there immediately, but we can't get there unless we actually have a proper infrastructure to really maintain it. And so once you've got that hold on a minute here. Once you've got that infrastructure in place, now you can start to program it. And so here's a programming language that we use for space. It's a Hyperspace markup language, just like HTML is for documents. This is for space. So here, a user, in this case is a robot, under the authority of the Health and Human Services Authority, can operate within a medical center and has the right to take blood pressure. So now you can limit and program what goes on in your smart city or in any space within that smart city just by using this new HSML programming language. And once you get all that, now you've got a complete context of the city. You've got not only the spaces, but now you've got the rules and the rights and you've got workflows. And so you can direct, this needs to be done, and it's done under these rules, or under these authorities, using this certificate. These are the kinds of complex layering you have to have if you're going to be able to operate your city intelligently. And so we call this contextual computing and contextual artificial intelligence, contextual AI. And when you get something like that, you get something like this. So here's the way a normal city is, and you're supposed to dig here and do some work on the road, and you show up with some kind of a clipboard or electronic clipboard. But no, with augmented reality, the city lights up. You know, these are your devices you're going to use. These are the smart contracts around them. Here's where you're going to dig, and here's where you're going to put the materials. And so now you've actually got the ability, even remotely, to watch this being done, to interact with the workers and manage your projects. And then you have a record of it as well, so that you can replay the video later and see if there's a problem or if an inspector needs to look at it, that kind of thing. And these views can be viewed from remotely from anywhere in the world if you're building a hotel or a building or something like that. So it allows you to see even underground with ground penetrating radar and manage all your facilities management remotely as well. So now you get not only interacting, but instructions and routing and guiding, do this, go here, do that. Transactions, no longer you don't need to do any checkouts anymore. You're registered in the system. You can move in and out. It gives you ability to control with artificial intelligence your traffic flows. You can even define where drones are allowed to fly and not allowed to fly, or when they're allowed to fly. It gives you control over your augmented reality advertising, which is going to be a big part of a smart city. You don't want your city trashed by that, so now you have rules. You can even take this right down to the digital twin of the house, and then you can measure your appliances and your overall house output, and roll that all up with all the buildings in the city, and now you've got carbon accounting for your city, and of course that can roll up across the country into carbon accounting for the entire country, and later help us reach our sustainability goals with the entire planet. And so there's a look at like all the subsystems in a smart city that have to be brought together. And when you do that over time, you get something called a smart world. So over the next 20 to 40 years, we're going to link all these up together, and there's your sustainability goals. Now we can actually reach them. And this is not a trivial exercise. I mean, this is a big business, so everybody can dive in and help to make this happen. Just interoperating our IoT devices alone is expected to be a $5 trillion business. That's on top of all the robotics and drones and everything else. We did write a book about this. If you're interested, you can read the Spatial Web book. It really walks you through a lot of these ideas. And I'd love to follow up. You can write me if you have any questions. Happy to work with you. We're working with various smart city projects around the world now. And we look forward to joining with you guys to do really cool things in the future.
Thank you very much, Dan. And as you can see, that's the interesting part of being smart is that this contributes to all the other goals. When you have everything smartly planned, and you can just make it safe, you can make it healthy, you can also make it eco-friendly and affordable. And also the second part, I think, which is also interesting, is that we are constrained by our imagination is being constrained by the technology that's what we have access to. And with what Dan presented, you can see no matter you are a city planner or you are a housing builder or you are managing different part of the value chain within the housing sector. You know that there are existing technology available already, and which can just help you to redesign the process, help you to just gain that efficiency and reduce the cost and make your projects better. And now that I want to move to Charles, and who has tremendous experience in the sector, and now he is the Chief Information Officer of EN China, which is one of the largest group in energy. And before he was the Chief Information Officer at McDonald's China, and also later was at the Vanda Group, also as the Chief Information Officer. So he has great experience and a lot of interesting project to share. And Charles?
Hi. Thank you, Shelton and Anne, for the opportunity to talk. And Dan, it was a great presentation. That's really interesting. I will show you some of the stuff we are doing, and definitely I think there will be a really great collaborative opportunities ahead. Let me share my screen. You guys can hear me, right? Yeah?
Yes, we can hear.
Okay, start broadcast screen. Before I'm going to talk about some of the great company I recently joined, I'm going to show you some background information of the company. So to give you a sense of the scale and the really the foundation work we are doing, and why it's so relevant to sustainable housing, as well as what Dan was talking about, the future smart cities. You guys can see my screen of ENN English websites, right?
Yes.
Oh, excellent. So this is a massive company. Just give you some figure. It's the actually this is not the latest figure, but by the end of 2018, it has actually now it has more than 200 cities they call gas project. But each city you basically have a few gas projects. So they have more than 200 city coverage nationwide in China, as well as in Eastern Asia. I think Asia Pacific even they bought some major shareholding in Australia, and one of the biggest terminals. And look at this number: 18 million residential users. The latest figure is 23 million family users using their natural gas and as well as other energy facility. So it's massive. And overall, it occupies 20% of the domestic market of natural gas supply and consumption and the transportation. Now, with this base, they extended, I think over 5 years ago, they recently extended their business to health related and living related. So, for example, here they have at the moment they have this sector is they have a brand called Innova, and really interesting. They combine the traditional Chinese medicine theory and the modern Western medicine practice, and with lots of data sets, and they do AI computation and with really privacy preservation as well as maintain data ownership using federated training. That's the latest development in AI deep learning, and they have a lab in Silicon Valley. So if you guys visiting San Francisco, I can you guys can meet the Dr. Ma with his team there doing very advanced transfer learning and federated training. Now, and also related to the sustainable housing, they are actually building model villages, not only in the headquarters of Langfang, which is very, very close to Beijing. I'm actually on my way from Beijing to Langfang, where their headquarters is. It's just 45 minutes drive. So quickly, they have culture business and they have tourism business, which is one of the 4 public listed companies in their portfolio. And they have Tibet tourism spots. I will mention that later why. And this real estate is what I'm talking about. And they are building this kind of very traditional but very, very modern inside these residential villages, and using AIoT. For example, they have really interesting mirrors that are using AI as well as integrated online information, so that and the smart housing as well, smart housing devices as well, and combine the aforementioned traditional Chinese and modern Western healthcare with AI and the data, and they try to see whether we can build a future and a sustainable future, realistic and the sustainable living apartments or villages. And one of the encouragements is actually, I think it's also a big lesson we learned from this pandemic, that we encourage people not just talking to people online or meeting in the pub, but also interactive more interactive lifestyle with your neighbors, you know. So they are building this kind of thing. I'm more than happy if, later, once this outbreak is easing, and you guys have any opportunity to travel here near Beijing, do pay us a visit, and I can show you the actual villages we are building and the devices we are testing. Now, this is about lifestyle with AI and for sustainable lifestyle, and as well as kind of a healthier lifestyle for Chinese people. But within this campus, as I mentioned, we supply energy to that many more than 20 million families. We are also supply energy and manage, optimize energy for more than 250,000 industrial and commercial customers. For example, like a campus, factories. So what we are doing is something called integrated energy. Basically, it's using AI, predictive maintenance, as well as predictive kind of energy usage. We combine all kinds of different different way of using energy, and also considering predict what kind of usage, for example, heating, cooling, water and electricity, and the burning gas, and or burning. Sometimes you have to burn coal, which is not sustainable, but sometimes to meet the energy demand, you have to do that as well. So they have end-to-end software, hardware, as well as AI system to do this kind of thing. It's been years of investment, and they started to deploy that kind of we call it's I couldn't find an English word. Basically, it's either called integrated or digital energy, integrated energy solution, or digital energy solution. And it's very advanced concept, and not we're doing just concept, we're actually deploying, testing within 200 campus or industry customers sites. That's the real test. So combine this kind of bigger customer like factories or campus or village, as well as in the kind of get down to the details into the housing, as well as inside the house, the smart devices. We are trying to doing this kind of a social engineering exercise to build for the future of Chinese kind of a lifestyle, as well as hopefully we can export or share this knowledge to create an open ecosystem for a wider audience. And I'm more than happy to see if we can do some experiments overseas. At the moment, so we are doing this kind of energy-related business, as I mentioned earlier, in the Southeastern Asia. But also more than happy to have more kind of partners. We call open ecosystem, to have more partners to join this effort. So that's basically I think this vision is really huge, and given such a massive company, the greater the scale, the greater the responsibilities, and the companies not only doing this clean energy for the last 30 years, and that's the exact reason I'm joining, because not only they are doing that, but also they started to have this business into lifestyle, healthier lifestyle, as well as smart living arena. So that's what I can share. It's definitely not an advertisement for the company, but I did a lot of research before I quit McDonald's job. It was not an easy decision, but I think I made the right choice, because there's so many things that we can do. Smart cities, AI, IoT, from sensor to actuator, and to this new smart hardware, as well as data behind it, as well as privacy preservation, as well as respect data ownership using latest AI technology like federated training and transfer learning. So this hopefully can give you some the ideas of what we are up to, and I'm more than happy to share more details later. That's all I want to say for now.
Thank you. Let me see. Thank you, Charles, and really appreciate it. And each time, when I hear from you, and I always just get something new and something exciting, and this is it's really great. And then we in the next 20 minutes, and I will just moderate a discussion, and I will just throw the first question. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to just type that in the chat box directly, and then we can just invite the speaker to just answer them. And of course, Anne can also just answer a lot of questions. She has amazing experience in this sector, and it's really instrumental for the task force. And my first question probably go to Dan, because you heard Charles' presentation, and I think a combination of your technology with the work they are doing could be something interesting, but maybe you can already just when you hear it, you already see what are the synergy out there.
Yes, 100%. Charles, thanks so much for that great presentation. No, clearly, I mean, we have a planet that needs to learn from each other. We're doing some things that can help Charles. Charles is doing some things that can help our other smart city clients. We can all learn from each other and join and synergize our efforts. I mean, that is really the way forward. And also, I think your overall model of planning and financing and operating is a key model to have. The new virtual reality and augmented reality technologies combined with artificial intelligence really allow us to pre-visualize an entire new housing development before we ever build it. And then now with cryptocurrencies, and fractional ownership, and I think some of the speakers later today are looking at fractional ownership of real estate through cryptocurrencies, we can suddenly start to have new sources of financing globally to help build these exciting new developments that Charles is talking about and spread them all around the world, because we need to integrate the health and the living and the education and the environment all together. I mean, monitoring our energy use and stacking our energy use up so that we can look at a global climate management system. These are things that are really in front of us that have to be done. And then operating, once you have the thing built, then being able to have digital technologies that allow you to remotely measure and manage and use artificial intelligence and IoT sensors to make sure that everything is safe and staying within safe boundaries and being repaired when needed. These are all key. So I think the way you guys have framed the overall experience is right. And I think what Charles brings to the table is absolutely a wealth of experience, because at the bottom of it all is energy. And then as it rolls out into the world and how we deploy that properly is the key to really having a sustainable planet going forward.
Thank you, Dan.
Yeah, thanks, Dan. Yeah, I think it's definitely a great synergy ahead, and I'm more than happy to invite you guys or whoever is interested to join this open ecosystem of ENN Energy Group. And I forgot to mention, you're absolutely right. Tokens, DLT, distributed ledger technology, blockchain, cryptocurrencies can definitely help. Actually, we are building games to not only encourage family members to engage more. Because thanks for pandemic, one of the things we have because of that is we have more time with family members. Why not? But also we are using not only the actual games, but also, like you said, virtual reality, as well as virtual, like digital twin games. We gamify the smart cities, green cities using games. The more you contribute to the more, for example, you record what you did good for, and so long as you register in our games, we give you incentive tokens, so that we can transfer that tokens to membership loyalty points to swap for something really good like vegetables and or some smart devices. So this we can create a really good cycle. So yeah, that's great of opportunities ahead, and we do have, as I mentioned earlier, model villages as well as applications, apps, and mini programs. All of these omni channels for the Chinese customers, and I'm more than happy to share that later as well.
Perfect. Yeah, and so just 2 years ago, I think that's all. Yeah, we launched the China Digital Finance Advisory Group, and Charles is a member of the advisory group, and so then we actually, are all just within our work, and I do see the synergy. And do you have any question to any of the speakers? Yeah.
Yeah, first of all, just wanted to say thank you to both of you for really fascinating presentations and painting this picture of what the world could be. using some of the digital technology is really exciting stuff. I guess my question always is, as somebody who's coming from the business world and often has to think about short term and how it meets current objectives. What are some advice do each of you have for helping think about some of incremental steps, or how to scale some of the things that you guys are thinking about in the world today?
Well, I'll speak to that, Anne. I think this is a new way of thinking. I mean, we've had cities now for almost 5, 6, 7,000 years, and they're the biggest contributor to global warming, and they're still kind of being run. They were 100 years ago almost. So we need to reframe our thinking. I did write a book. I'm not promoting the book because I want to sell more books, but we did give some interesting ideas in there to help people expand their thinking a little bit about how we manage our world, how we manage our cities, how we plan things. So it's called the Spatial Web in English, and we also have a Chinese version, which Xiaoxin, I think, has the cover of, and it was published by Tsinghua University Press in Beijing in China. And so we do have it in English and Chinese, and I think it helps to expand the thinking a little bit and frame some of the larger issues. So I really wrote it for people like us to be able to use as a tool to communicate with each other more effectively. It also happened to be a bestseller, but I didn't expect that. I thought it would be more technical, but people love it, and it might be helpful.
Charles, do you have any thoughts? Obviously, you're working within a corporation, and they have to see the investment potential. Any thoughts as to how, practical steps for municipalities and for corporations to incrementally get to this vision?
I think in China, they are actually doing something about it. However, at the moment, let me use in the time frame. So in short term, Chinese government is facing massive kind of difficulties, challenges recently, in particular from states, as you probably are aware. Making the import, because of pandemic, it's we're facing very challenging economy kind of challenges recently because of, for example, less and less kind of import-export kind of orders, So, but however, green energy, green kind of strategy is definitely in place, and it was amazing to see there's so many kind of wind farms in western of China. So, however, down to each city, so they are rectifying the errors they made in the past in terms of environmental damage. And for example, they have a kind of a forced policies, even new laws to restrict or remove or reduce this kind of old technology in terms of in the factories that generating a lot of poisonous kind of emission. So so there are kind of consensus among officials from big cities, tier 1 cities to tier 3, tier 4 cities. That's no doubt. And however, how to make it sustainable, how to while kind of protecting the environment and creating more sustainable kind of infrastructure projects, and while at the same time covering the shortage of the kind of income revenue, that's very, very challenging. So what we can do, because I joined although they have public listed companies, they still the shareholders and the headquarters is still a private company. So that's why I think we can using technology to optimize, for example, infrastructure projects like us. we call digital factories or intelligent factories, so that not only we can save money and but also make it easier to promote clean technology to supply energy, because energy is so the foundation of all the economic activities. Now this it's not actually saving money per se, meaning we're not eliminating the purpose is not eliminating workers. In actual fact, we wanted to give workers a better a happier working environment, so that we can encourage all kinds of creativities from our employees. So that's actually written in our company strategy. So we are doing a lot. So and it's such a massive company, and with 30 years of history and massive expansion. So that's lots of stuff I can talk about. So basically, comprehensive thought process in terms of business model, whether it's sustainable, whether the company can carry on expanding while preserving and caring more of our environment. So the chairman, the founders, and the new joiners like myself, we are thinking very hard, and we work very closely actually with the government bodies in terms of, as I mentioned earlier, the planners, the inspectors, the policymakers. Just educate as well as influence. We influence them in terms of showing the challenges we're facing as a business runner, and for them as a policy makers to make a better a sustainable planning for the future. So that's how it works.
I'd like to add a comment too, and that is Charles mentioned that we're having some difficulties between the United States and China right now. I wanted to really make a distinction. There's obviously two levels going on. There's intergovernment arguments around trade and policies and things, but the foundations are very strong. As Charles mentioned, his company has research centers in California. I've been going and working in China for 30 years. I mean, the partnerships between the two largest economies in the world, China and the United States, are extremely strong at the foundational level. We work well together. We really enjoy working together, and for the good of the world, we need to work together. We are really the leaders in terms of technology and implementing new ideas. So I'm excited. I think this is a temporary a problem we're having at a political level, but at the foundational level of business and people to people, I feel it's extremely strong. I have such a great time working in Beijing and Shanghai and Shenzhen and throughout China. So I think the prognosis is very positive, even politically going forward, because the foundation is so strong.
Thank you. Yeah, and I think interestingly that you both of you have touched upon several very important point of synergy, and one is that we need to bring the right technology, right infrastructure, right model in front of the decision maker, policy makers, so then they know there are other tools, new tools available, new technology available, and then they can really do their job better. And I think that is some very important part of the game. The second part is that the large and the small, it doesn't matter from the size, but how to have the large corporation and the innovative company working together and to co-create new solution which can be used by all. And I think that is also very important, where that's the large company have current mandates or current projects need to just be competitive and deliver results. And then the startup have all the new ideas or new pilots, new tools available. And how can we just bring them together, and then they can co-create something for the cities and for the corporates? I think that is also the reason why we set up the task force and also just started this acceleration program design. And the next point is, around the new technology, and both of you, Dan mentioned the spatial web, and that's the main work that you're working on. And Charles mentioned a lot about the AI work. And from the fourth industrial revolution, we see, really a spectrum of new digital technologies, including blockchain, IoT, and all that. This can all just bring different values. And the next week, that's actually just this week, we are going to have another roundtable. We have Pang Ling from DLE Piper, Yale from Solid Block, and also Eric, who are going to just talking about how to use tokenization model to redesign or the real estate market, and where that you can see the flow of assets from different stakeholders, where that you can come up with new models where that enable different stakeholders to benefit from the integrated process. This actually answered the question from Steve Zhang regarding the co-development part. And if you just have a model and support the open innovation, open collaboration, and all parties can benefit, and then the collaboration will come naturally. And so I have two questions from Changhua, and one is to Dan, one is to Charles, and both are related to your presentation. Changhua, to Dan's question is around emerging tribalism, and in particular around digital and smart technologies among major economies. How would you see that the world you have imagined differently if taking into consideration of those factors?
Yes, I think when you look in the longer term, and when I say longer term, I think maybe over the next even only 20 to 30 years, between now and 2050, I think we're going to see a great falling away of tribalism. And that is because we're all interconnecting through a global network. And now we're starting to see ourselves, even in this conversation, we've got people from China, the United States, Europe, Middle East, Africa, South America, all working together with common problems. And as we move into virtual reality and augmented reality, our connections will even be stronger. And I have no idea what city Xiaoxin's even in today. And is he I mean, look, he's multiple lingual. Look how good the English Charles speaks. I mean, we really have the ability now to really work together as a global community. And I'm a little bit older than a lot of you, so I remember clear back into the late 1980s, before the World Wide Web. And we had a very powerful computer at that time called a Cray supercomputer. And if I had told you at that time that we're going to give everybody on the planet a Cray supercomputer by 2020, and it's going to be so small it'll fit in your pocket or purse, people would have thought you were crazy. But that's what we did. The smartphone is not smart, and it's not a phone. It's a computer. It's a supercomputer from 25, 30 years ago. It used to cost $20 million, and now we all have them, and they're interconnecting. And this trend is going to continue. So we're really building a new global society that will honor our individual traditions and cities and countries we live in, but really also link us up in new ways. So I'm really excited about the future. I feel that I learn a lot from China. I learn a lot. I lived in Europe for 5 years. I lived in Shanghai. I've lived in Tokyo. So I really love learning from the other cultures, and I think this will become more common as we connect more.
Thank you, Dan. Anne, and any additional thoughts?
No, I know we're just about at time, and again, thank you so much for everyone. This was fascinating and a great way to kick us off, and we do hope that you join us for the rest of the series, so we can sort of dive into some of the details. But you guys have painted a really interesting picture of the future.
Thank you, Anne and Xiaoxian, for putting this together. This is a massive amount of work, and you brought all these great people together. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Yeah, from here, from Beijing and Shanghai as well.
Okay, great. So now I just type, we have a number of upcoming roundtables and just August 12th, and we have the FinTech4Good Global Fellows Forum, and it will feature Nancy from iBuild and Paulo from ARP Foundation, who will again talking about the sustainable housing. And then we have August 13th, we have Lim Pangling and also Ya to talk about tokenization, real estate tokenization. And then later next week, that we have Kevin, who is here actually, and also Sachin, who is going to talk about sustainable competitive cities, sustainable housing and competitive cities. And then we have additional sessions, and we try to use this global roundtables to really bring the right stakeholders together to identify areas where we can collaborate. And I think this is a very good starting point. Just from this conversation Dan have with Charles, and we already see some synergies, and I'm pretty sure that in the near future, during all the from all the roundtables, we're be able to just identify more areas where that different corporates, different municipality, and different startups can just all working together. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for Dan, and thank you for Charles, especially Dan started from 7 a.m. and Charles, this is the late night, and really appreciate everyone, and we are looking forward to just having everyone back on the 12th and the 13th. And thank you, team. You have a great day.
Thank you for the arrangements. Yeah.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye now.
Bye-bye. Bye now.